Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about probability. Now probability is the chance that something will occur written as a part to whole ratio. A number between 0 and 1 indicates the likelihood that the event will occur. As you can see, we have a continuum here from 0 to 1, 0 being impossible, 1 being absolutely certain. We also have a fourth, 1/2, and 3/4 written also as 25%, 50%, and 75%. As you can see, 0 is impossible, 1/4 is unlikely, a half, likely is not, 3/4 likely, and 1 is absolutely certain. These can be written as a fraction, as a percent, or as a decimal. And you all should be able to change fractions into decimals by simply dividing the numerator with the point, 0, 0, 0, whatever, to also changing a percent to a decimal. That is, take the decimal and move it 2 places to the left. So we're able to convert any of these things. You also should be able to figure out a percent from a fraction by simply using a proportion. So the fraction is equal to the percent out of 100. Now we're going to talk about a little bit with these likelihoods. Feel free to stop the video at any time and write things down to help you out. Our first, as we talk about these, skipped a page. Impossible is that something absolutely cannot occur. There's no way in the world it can happen. Something that is unlikely probably won't happen. It could, but probably won't. Something that is as likely as not, or our 50%, is the same as a 50-50 chance. Equal chances of it happening or not happening. Something that is likely probably will happen. It might not, but it probably will. And something that is certain absolutely must occur. There is a guarantee it will happen. So we're going to take a look at a few examples here, and we're going to try and figure out what it may or may not be. So we're going to decide impossible, unlikely, as likely as not, likely, and certain. When we look at some of these, you might kind of question, well, could it be this? Could it be that? And you could kind of feel like, well, it might be this one because of, or it might be this one because of. You sort of have to do your reasoning. So if we make this statement, it will be hotter than 80 degrees on July 4th, well, depending on where you are, that could be an absolute certainty, or maybe not. So because of it wouldn't be absolutely certain no matter what, we're going to say that it is likely. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it's almost certain. Of course, the further north you go, the less likely it is to be. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it's winter. And so then, of course, you would say, well, that's unlikely. So just depending on where you are, the certainty changes. Therefore, we're just going to go with likely. Number 2, there will be children wearing costumes on Halloween. Well, we know that Halloween is the definite wear a costume day. So this one, that one would be absolutely certain. 3, your hair will grow 5 inches one day. In one day, 5 inches, your hair to grow? No. That one, well, that one we would say is impossible. You flip a coin and it lands heads up. Well, when you flip a coin, there are only 2 sides that could happen, the heads or the tails. So with this case, because there are only 2 things that could happen, this one is as likely as not. That's that 50-50 chance of it happening. And a student in our class will be famous next year. There is a strange chance that that is possible. Not definite. So with this one, we would say that this one is probably unlikely. Now there is a slim chance that it could happen, but probably not. As you can see, sometimes there's a fine line between what it is and what it isn't. When we talk about probabilities, we often write them as a capital P and then in parentheses the event. Careful, we've before seen how something next to a parentheses means multiplication, but in this case, this is shorthand writing for the probability that something will occur. The probability that something will occur is the number of successes to the total number of options, apart to the whole. So in this case, we would have 4 options. There are 4 flags. So our total number of options, if we're looking at this, would be 4. The number of successes would be what we're asked. So if you choose a flag at random from the group of flags, each flag has the same chance of being selected. But what's the probability of choosing a flag with stripes? Well, if you look up here, there's only one flag that has stripes. That has diamonds, that's got a circle, that's a diagonal and stars. So we would say that this one is just 1 out of 4, or 1/4. We also know that 1/4 can be written as 0.25, and we also know that this is also 25% chance of it happening. The 1/4 is the basic probability though, because it's usually something out of something else. And as we've seen with ratios, that is generally written in fraction form. Okay. So as we look at this one, you may want to pause the video and write this down, or at least write the chart down as you're going. I'm only going to go through one example, but it would be smart for you to go through the other examples. And as I said, pause this and take a look at things very closely. You might have to enlarge it a little bit as well. So based on the picture, we're going to find each probability. We have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 flags. So when we're talking about our probability as a fraction, everything will be out of 20. Our first one that we're going to look at is the probability of yellow. Well, as we look at these flags, we're looking for a flag that has yellow on it. Not that it is a completely yellow flag. So as we look here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a little bit, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 flags that have yellow on them. So we would say that that is 10 out of 20. 10 out of 20, we all know, is really 1/2. Now, as we've discussed earlier, it's easy to change these into percents and decimals. You all are probably quite aware of that you can change to a decimal using your calculator quite easily, or as a percent using a proportion. 1/2, of course, though, is an easy 50%, or as a decimal, 0.50. Yes, we would want to do that just simply because it's very easy to see that it's changed. Of course, if you did want to drop the 0 off and just say 0.5, that's perfectly fine too. As you can see, we have probability there's a circle on a flag, that there's a triangle on a flag, that there are vertical stripes, vertical means up and down, that there's purple on a flag, or that there's a star on the flag. Go ahead, take some time, answer these questions on your own. We're going to be moving on when you finish, so unpause the video when you're finished, and we'll go to the next thing. On our next one, we have got the probabilities of picking a marble at random. As you can see, up here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of these. That means that every one of our probabilities is going to be starting out as a denominator of 10. It's going to be out of the 10. Our first choice, what is the probability of choosing black? Well, as we can see, there are 3 that are black, and so we would write that as 3 out of 10. When you look at 3/10 as a fraction, that's as simple as it could get. Therefore, that would be our probability. Our next one says, what is the probability of striped? Well, if I look up there, I have 3 in the top row, 3 in the bottom row. That means I have 6 out of the 10 are striped. Well, we know that 6 and 10 are both even numbers, therefore we can divide them both by 2, and when we divide them both by 2, we get 3/5. 3 out of every 5. You actually can see that. 3 of these 5, 3 of those 5. So it's easy to see how these simplified fractions or simplified ratios can translate into our picture. What is the probability not striped? Now when you see the word not, you're looking for everything that is not got stripes. So if I look up there, I have 3 solid black and a white. What I have then is 4 that are out of the 10 that are not striped. Now again, we know that we can simplify this by dividing both 4 and 10 by 2. And when we do that, we get 2/5. And if you look up there, 2 on the top row, 2 on the bottom row of 5 are also not striped. Our last one, what is the probability of a marble? Well, if these are in a bag, and I reach into the bag, I'm going to get a marble. This doesn't have any specifics about the marble. So in other words, this marble would be 10 out of 10, which we know is then going to be worth 1. Absolutely certain. As you can see, we also have some things that are in between the 1/4, the 1/2, and the 3/4. Okay. We could change these into percents, and it would be a little more obvious what they are. But we're just looking at the simple fraction. Okay. This is a very common kind of probability problem where you are spinning a spinner. As you can see, we have different colors. We have purple, red, blue, and yellow. We're also going to look at the fact that we have some numbers on those, 1 through 8. Now, if we spin a spinner, depending on how fast or how lightly or how hard you spin that spinner, it could really land anywhere. We have 8 possible spaces that it could land, meaning our denominator in a fraction is going to be 8. Our first thing is the probability of odd. Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 who are odd. So 4 out of my 8 spaces are odd, and we know that that's 1/2. It is as likely as not that I will land on an odd number. My next one says the probability that it's not red. Not red would be purple, yellow, or blue. Not red, that would be 7 of my 8 spaces. 7/8 is as simple as it's going to get. It's very likely that this would happen because it is almost 1, but not quite. So it's not an absolute certainty. Prime number. Ooh, that one's a little tricky. Prime numbers. Remember, prime numbers only have 2 factors, the number itself and 1. So if we look at these, what are our prime numbers? Our prime numbers, not 1 because it only has 1 factor, itself. But 2, you might want to write these down. 2 is a prime number, 3 is a prime number, nope, not 4. Oh, 5 is, not 6. 7 is, but not 8. How many do I have that are prime? 4. So, as I look at that, I have 4 of my 8 are prime numbers. In other words, half of them are prime. If I spin the spinner, it's as likely as not that I will land on a prime number. Oh, I have the word and in here. And. Blue and even. That means both things have to happen. It has to be a blue space, and that blue space has to have an even number. So if I look at this, I have 3 that are blue. Oh, that's an even, that's an even. Now careful, it's not 2 out of the 3, it's really 2 out of the 8. So blue and even would be 2 spaces out of the 8. 2 8s, that's the same as 1/4. So what would 1/4 be? Oh yeah, if we go back and look at that, 1/4, kind of unlikely that it would land on those, but still, there is a chance. This one has the word or in it. Or, that means I don't care if it lands on blue or yellow. This is sort of like what a lot of you do when you're playing board games. Oh, please don't, please don't, please don't. Or, oh, I really need that roll, I really need that roll, I really need that roll. I need to get to this space or whatever. So you're hoping for it to land on a blue or a yellow. So to land on yellow, there are 2 of them. To land on blue, there are 3. Oh, how many is that? That would be 5 out of 8. 5 out of 8. So that one is a little more than as likely as not, but not as likely as 3/4 would be. Kind of the in-between area. These are some things that you're going to be talking about doing probability. Now there are a lot of other things that you could have, such as drawing a marble out of a bag like our previous one, spinning a spinner, rolling a die, flipping a coin. And when you do talk about probability, there are going to be 2 kinds of probability. There's going to be theoretical. This is all theoretical. If this happens. Or experimental. Experimental would be you actually doing the spins and finding out what you get. You'll see a little bit of that later on, and we'll talk about it in a little more depth. Again, theoretical. In theory, these are our probabilities. Experimental would be if I actually spun a spinner, if I actually rolled a die, if I actually flipped a coin, if I reached in and pulled a marble out and looked at it. Experimental is when you physically do something and then keep track. experimental may or may not match up with theoretical. When we are talking about these theoretical, that is our general idea of probability. In theory, it should be this. Practice a little bit. Remember, if you haven't filled out that prior one, go back, fill it out, have fun with probability. It's always interesting to figure out what are the chances that something may or may not occur. Until next time, check with your teachers if you have any issues, any kind of questions or problems, and have fun with probability. Bye now.